Berlin Hauptbahnhof is the main railway station in Berlin, Germany. It came into full operation 2 days after a ceremonial opening on the 26th of May 2006. It is located on the site of the historic Lehrter Bahnhof, and until it opened as a main-line station, it was a stop on the Berlin S-Bahn suburban railway temporarily named Berlin Hauptbahnhof Lehrter Bahnhof. The station is operated by DB Station&amp service, who are a subsidiary of Deutsche Bahn AG, and is classified as a Category 1 station, one of 21 in Germany and 4 in Berlin, the others being Berlin Gesundbrunnen, Berlin Südkreuz and Berlin Ostbahnhof. Lehrter Bahnhof opened in 1871 as the terminus of the railway linking Berlin with Lehrter, near Hanover, which later became Germany's most important east-west main line. In 1882, with the completion of the Startbahn just north of the station, a smaller interchange station called Lehrter Startbahnhof was opened to provide connections with the new line. This station later became part of the Berlin S-Bahn. In 1884, after the closure of nearby Hamburger Bahnhof, Lehrter Bahnhof became the terminus for trains to and from Hamburg. Following heavy damage during World War II, limited services to the main station were resumed, but then suspended in 1951. In 1957, with the railways to West Berlin under the control of East Germany, Lehrter Bahnhof was demolished, but Lehrter Startbahnhof continued as a stop on the S-Bahn. In 1987, it was extensively renovated to commemorate Berlin's 750th anniversary. After German reunification, it was decided to improve Berlin's railway network by constructing a new north-south main line, to supplement the east-west Startbahn. Lehrter Startbahnhof was considered to be the logical location for a new central station. History: Lehrter Bahnhof from 1871 to 1958. Between 1868 and 1871, a 239 km railway was built between Hanover and Berlin via Lehrter by the Magdeburg-Halberstadt Railway Company. Lehrter Bahnhof was constructed as the Berlin terminus. It was adjacent to Hamburger Bahnhof, just outside what was then Berlin's boundary at the Humberholhafen port on the River Spree. Its architects were Alfred Lent, Berthold Scholz, and Gottlieb Henry Lapierre. In contrast to earlier railway stations built with brick facades, and in keeping with then-current trends, Lehrter Bahnhof was designed in the French Neo-Renaissance style. Its originally planned stone facade was replaced with glazed tiles to save money. With its magnificent architecture, the station was known as a palace among stations. The train shed was 188 meters long and 38 meters wide. Its roof was a long barrel vault with steel supports, as was common for the period. The station was divided into an arrival side on the west and a departure side on the east. Originally there were 5 tracks, 4 of which ended at the side and the central platform. The 5th track had no platform and served as a turnaround for the locomotives. At the turn of the century, this track was removed to accommodate the widening of the central platform. Although the front of the building was ornate and had a grand entrance, most passengers entered and left via the east side, where horse-drawn carriages were able to stop. In 1882, the Metropolitan Railway, predecessor of the S-Bahn, began service along 2 of the Startbahn tracks. Long-distance traffic commenced in 1884 along the other 2. With the expansion of Lehrter Bahnhof, it was able to take over the functions of Hamburger Bahnhof. A 300 meters connector line was built on the 14th of October 1884. Traffic towards Hamburg, northeast Germany, and Scandinavia was diverted to Lehrter Bahnhof, and Hamburger Bahnhof closed. In 1886, the Berlin-Lehrter Railway, and with it Lehrter Bahnhof, was nationalized and subsequently came under the control of the Prussian State Railways. Even in its early years, the line was known as one of the country's fastest. In 1872, express trains could attain a speed of 90 km per hour. The 19th of December 1932 marked the maiden voyage of the famous diesel-powered Flyegender Hamburger, which whisked passengers to Hamburg at 160 km per hour. In the Second World War, the station was severely damaged. After the war, the shell was repaired to the point where it could be used temporarily. However, the post-war division of Germany spelled the end for most of West Berlin's mainline stations. On the 28th of August 1951, the final train departed from Lehrter Bahnhof, heading for the Ostermark in Nauen. On the 9th of July 1957, demolition began, and on the 22nd of April 1958, the main entrance was blown up. The biggest challenge in the demolition of the station was to preserve the viaducts of the Startbahn, which ran directly overhead. Work was completed in the summer of 1959. Lehrter Startbahnhof from 1882 to 2002. On the 15th of May 1882, Lehrter Startbahnhof opened. Situated on the Startbahn viaduct at the northern end of Lehrter Bahnhof Concourse, this four-track station on the Startbahn was used mainly by suburban trains. The main purpose of the Startbahn was to connect central areas of Berlin with the Lehrter Bahnhof, the Schlesische Bahnhof termini with nearby Charlottenburg, then still a separate city. It was also providing an east-west railway connection across the center of Berlin. Because of steadily increasing traffic to Lehrter Startbahnhof and its location on a bridge crossing the north end of Lehrter Bahnhof, elaborate changes were made to the track structure in 1912 and again in 1929. On the 1st of December 1930, the newly electrified suburban trains were given the designation S-Bahn, making the Lehrter Startbahnhof an S-Bahnhof. During the war, in April 1943, the station was bombed by the Polish sabotage and diversionary squad Zagralin. The Startbahnhof survived World War II intact, but came to lose its pre-war significance due to the division of Berlin, with Lehrter Bahnhof closed. The Startbahnhof served only a relatively underpopulated area near the border with East Berlin. It was the final stop in West Berlin. The next station, Berlin-Friedrichstraße, was in the Soviet zone. Although it served as a stop on both the West Berlin S and U-Bahn systems, these parts of the station were sealed off and inaccessible to East Berliners. The S-Bahn, like the main lines leading to West Berlin, was run by the East German Railway, the Deutsche Reichsbahn. The 1961 construction of the Berlin Wall further isolated the station, and led to a boycott of the S-Bahn in West Berlin that lasted until the 1980s, when operation of the West Berlin S-Bahn lines was transferred to the West Berlin Transit Authority, the BVG. Berlin's 750-year anniversary celebration in 1987 saw the station, now under West Berlin control, renovated at a cost of about 10 million German marks. Because it had largely been preserved in its original condition, it became a listed building. However, in 2002, Lehrter Startbahnhof was demolished to make way for the new central station, despite its listed status. The argument was that Bellevue and Hackescher Markt stations were architecturally similar. Hackescher Markt, in former East Berlin, had been restored in 1994 to 1996, after German reunification. planning the new station. Soon after the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, city planners began work on a transport plan for reunified Berlin. One element of this became the Pilz concept, in which a new north-south railway line intersecting the Stadtbahn was to be constructed. The name derived from the shape formed by the new line and existing lines, which vaguely resembles a mushroom. In June 1992, the federal government decided that the new station should be built on the site of Lehrter Bahnhof. While close to the center of Berlin and government buildings, the area was still not heavily populated. The following year, a design competition for the project was held, which was won by the Hamburg architecture firm Gerkenmark & Partners. The design called for 5 levels. The highest level, on a bridge 10 meters above street level, was to have platforms for both long-distance and S-Bahn trains on the existing Stadtbahn. The lowest level, 15 meters underground, was to have platforms served by new tunnels to Potsdamer Platz under the Spree in the Tiergarten, forming a new north-south line running to the northern part of the S-Bahn ring around central Berlin. Platforms for the planned extension to U-Bahn Line 5 were also included, as were platforms for the cancelled Transrapid Maglev train. Building the new station. The building work took place in several stages. In 1995, the construction of the Tiergarten tunnels began, and this work was finished in 2005 with the completion of the last station tunnel. The tunnels provide 4 tubes for long-distance and regional services and 2 tubes in a separate alignment for the U-Bahn, in addition to a road tunnel ventilated by a 60-meter high tower completed in 2004. During its construction, the course of the Spree had to be diverted. Water leaks in the tunnels caused over 1 year's delay to the construction work. Construction of the bridges for the new S-Bahn route began in 2001. These needed to span not only the entire length of the station, but also the adjacent Humboldt-Hafen port, and of 450 meters long. Because of the alignment of the S-Bahn, they are curved, and each pair of tracks has a separate bridge. Bridges of this type had never been built before, and represented a special challenge for the Egyptian engineer Hani Azza, the chief construction engineer since 2001. The main station hall is spanned by a similarly curved glass roof with a surface area of about 85 meters by 120 meters, which was installed in February 2002. A photovoltaic system was integrated into the glass surface. The steel and glass construction was a difficult task for the engineers, particularly as the glass roofs were shortened by approximately 100 meters to speed up construction. Over the first weekend of July 2002, the bridges and main station hall were brought into service so that traffic could be diverted onto the new alignment. The old Lehrter Bahnhof S-Bahn station was closed and rapidly demolished to make way for further new building. On the 9th of September 2002, the station was renamed Berlin Hauptbahnhof, Lehrter Bahnhof. The main concourse, supported by 2 towers, provides roughly 44,000 square meters of commercial space. Construction of the towers began in 2005. On 2 separate weekends, the 29th of July and the 13th of August 2005, structural frames were installed, supporting the structure above the east-west tracks. This was built using a new technique. The frames, each weighing 1250 t, were lowered by steel cables at a rate of 6 meters per hour. The remaining 20 mm gap between the bow frames upon completion of the lowering process was subsequently closed. During summer 2003, a survey commissioned by Peter Strieder, Berlin Senator for City Development and Traffic, and Deutsche Bahn Director Hartmut Medorn was conducted among Berlin residents with the intention of selecting a name for the station. Of the three possibilities listed on the survey, the majority of participants opted for Lehrter Bahnhof. Nevertheless, the station remained Berlin Hauptbahnhof, Lehrter Bahnhof, an option that was not listed. It was decided early in 2005 that the station would be renamed Berlin Hauptbahnhof on the date of its opening, the 28th of May 2006, to avoid confusing rail passengers. On the same day, Berlin Papestrasse station, which was rebuilt as the city's second largest station, opened officially under its new name, Berlin Südkreuz, similar to the existing Ostkreuz and Westkreuz stations. It is also on the new north-south route, although it was intended to open a further station as Berlin Nordkreuz. The name Berlin Gesundbrunnen was retained for what became Berlin's fourth biggest railway station for commuter and long-distance trains, located in a more northern part of Berlin, where the Circle and north-south line of the S-Bahn cross each other. In 2005, the bridging segments, which cross over the roof of the station, were lowered. This was the first time this unique method to build later office rooms was applied. The architect Meinhard von Gerken filed a complaint against Deutsche Bahn in October 2005 after Deutsche Bahn altered the station construction timeline without proper authority. The complaint was upheld in late 2006. There may therefore be further construction on the station in the future. In addition, Deutsche Bahn decided to implement a slightly different version of the Pilz concept by running intercity trains through the new Tiergarten tunnels, rather than via the Startbahn. This move was unpopular for its effect on Berlin's two previous main stations. Bahnhof Berlin Zoologischer Garten was downgraded to a regional railway station, and the number of mainline services to Berlin Ostbahnhof was drastically reduced. Opening ceremony on the 26th of May 2006. The station was ceremonially opened by Chancellor Angela Merkel, who arrived together with Transport Minister Wolfgang Tiefensee in a specially chartered intercity express from Leipzig. A Symphony of Light was performed immediately following the dedication. Raymond and Bap performed at the station, and there were also events at the other new stations, Gesundbrunnen, Potsdamer Platz and Südkreuz. Berlin Hauptbahnhof officially went into operation on the 28th of May 2006. The opening ceremony was marred by an attack by a drunken 16-year-old wielding a knife, who stabbed members of the public leaving the ceremony. 41 people were wounded, 6 seriously, before the youth was arrested. According to police, the youth says he cannot remember his act of violence and is still denying it. One of the first stabbing victims was HIV positive, leading to worries that other victims may have been infected. Although this did not prove to be the case, the youth was charged with attempted murder, and was sentenced to 7 years in prison for attempted manslaughter in 33 cases in 2007. Since opening on the 18th of January 2007, 2 steel beams of the southwest facade were torn loose during European windstorm Kirill. One of them, an 8.4 meters long beam weighing 1.35 tons, dropped 40 meters onto a staircase below, and the other impacted and damaged a third beam. The station had suffered some flooding and had been evacuated due to the complete cancellation of train service in Germany. Consequently, nobody was injured and the station was cleared for reopening the following day. The beams had not been welded or bolted in place but laid down like shelves in a bookcase. In the next days, extra lugs were welded to the remaining beams to secure them in place, and the station declared storm-proof on the 23rd of January. The U-55 opened in August 2009, connecting the Hauptbahnhof with the Brandenburger Tor station. The rail link to current Berlin-Schönefeld Airport is to be reorganized for its replacement with the new Berlin-Brandenburg Airport. The Airport Express line will maintain a travel time of 30 minutes. The rail bridge construction leading into the upper level of the station forms a curve, and some of the screws holding it in place have loosened. This will require a €25 million reconstruction, which involves the closure of the upper-level rail tracks during a 3-month period in summer 2015. Operational usage. The upper level of the station has 6 tracks served by 3 island platforms. The lower level has 8 tracks served by 4 island platforms for mainline trains, plus a further island platform for the Berlin U-Bahn. The lower level is often denoted by TIF on travel guides, etc. Quote, closing parenthesis. There is no rail connection between the upper and lower level track in the station area. 1,800 trains call at the station per day, and the daily number of passengers is estimated to be at 350,000. As of 2011, the station is used by Intercity Express, Intercity, Intregio Express, Regional Bahn, and S-Bahn trains. The station also hosts several international trains, and the most distant cities reach to Novosibirsk and Astana, with an express named Sibirjak. The upper part of the station, with the east-west tracks, is part of the Berlin Stadtbahn, with trains leading to locations like Hanover or Cologne. The subterranean station, which lies in the north-south Tiergarten Tunnel, offers long-distance services to Hamburg, Leipzig or Munich. S-Bahn, for the north-south connection, is in the course of S21's platform in the tunnel level, initially in a northerly direction with the Ringbahn, later of a continuation as a tunnel section with the Potsdamer Platz are connected. The construction of the northern section began in January 2010 and should be completed by 2015. The realization of the southern section is after completion of the construction work on the extension of U5 expected to begin of 2019. U-Bahn. The U-Bahn platforms are presently served only by the U-55, which is not connected to the rest of the U-Bahn network. It was opened on the 8th of August 2009. This line is operated as a single-track shuttle, and only one of the 2 platform tracks is currently used. The other is behind a metal fence, mounted in the ground. Construction of a 2.2 km connection to Line U5 commenced in April 2010 and is expected to be completed in 2017. The Hauptbahnhof U-Bahn station was opened on the 8th of August 2009. It was presently served by the current underground line U55 starts, and which, however, only around 1.8 kilometers driving to the Brandenburg Gate. Therefore, this line is currently still an island solution that has no connection to the rest of Berlin's subway network. The connection between the recent end of the line U55 at the Brandenburg Gate and the existing U5 at Alexanderplatz along the Unter den Linden Boulevard is under construction and should be completed by 2020. The previous line U55 will be then part of the U5. In the long term, it is planned to extend the U5 from the main station towards the west to Turmstrasse and Jungfernheide. Due to lack of funds, the state of Berlin, the northwestern continuation in the near future is not to be expected. The underground station is in the second level of the main station east of the deep north-south train platforms. It has a central platform, which is covered with granite. To exit the platform are 3 stairs, an escalator and a lift. In addition, the metro station is equipped in terms of accessibility with a tactile paving. The platform hall has a length of 140 meters, 11 meters in height and 19 meters in width. The wall cladding consists of enamel plates which are decorated with photographs of the former Berlin-It stations. Furthermore, illuminate colored lighting affects the ceiling space above the platform. Since it is the medium terminus of this far-to-be-extended U5, a two-pronged reciprocal trackage north was built as short branch railway. One of the two sweeping track is located at a lockable manhole through which the subway cars can be replaced if necessary by using a crane. This currently represents the only way to spend subway cars in the tunnel, because the line U55 with the U5 does not track connections to the rest of the metro network to the gap closure. In zoning also, the end of a subway line under the Invalidenstrasse is provided at the main station, however, the realization of which is the long-term relatively unlikely. Tram. In 2009, the plan approval process was to build a tram line extension track that on the Invalidenstrasse of the station to Berlin Sol. In December 2010, had the Administrative Court 2 complaints from residents and Bund against the plan in connection with the tram extension 2 lane, upgrading the road to traffic from, and realized the construction project to be implemented as a was the official start of construction in the spring 2011. On the 14th of December 2014, the line M5 was extended from Saarkirche Markt to Hauptbahnhof. On the 29th of August 2015, the tram lines M8 and M10 were also extended from S-Nordbahnhof to Hauptbahnhof. Train services. The station is served by the following service: Intercity Express services Köln, Wuppertal, Hamm, Hanover, Berlin. Intercity Express services Düsseldorf, Essen, Dortmund, Hamm, Hanover, Berlin. Intercity Express services Berlin, Braunschweig, Göttingen, Kassel, Frankfurt, Mannheim, Stuttgart, Munich. Intercity Express services Berlin, Braunschweig, Göttingen, Kassel, Frankfurt, Mannheim, Freiburg, Basel, Interlaken. Intercity Express services Berlin, Halle, Erfurt, Frankfurt. Intercity Express services Hamburg, Berlin, Leipzig, Jena, Nuremberg, Munich. Intercity services Hamburg, Berlin, Dresden, Prague, Brno, Bratislava, Budapest. Intercity services Dortmund, Duisburg, Köln, Koblenz, Mannheim, Stuttgart. Intercity services Berlin, Frankfurt, Poznan, Warsaw. Intercity services Norddeich, Emden, Oldenburg, Bremen, Hanover, Braunschweig, Magdeburg, Brandenburg, Berlin, Cottbus. Intercity services Amsterdam, Amersfoort, Hengelo, Osnabrück, Hanover, Berlin. Regional services Re1 Magdeburg, Brandenburg, Potsdam, Berlin, Erkner, Fürstenwalde, Frankfurt. Regional services Re2 Wismar, Schwerin, Wittenberge, Nauen, Berlin, Lauben, Cottbus. Regional services Re3 Stralsund, Greifswald, Passwalk, Eingemund, Berlin, Falkenberg. Regional services Re3 Schwedt, Eingemund, Eberswalde, Berlin, Ludwigsfelde, Jüterborg, Lutherstadt, Wittenberg. Regional services Re4 Rathenau, Westermark, Berlin, Ludwigsfelde, Jüterborg. Regional services Re5 Rostock, Neustrelitz, Berlin, Wunsdorf, Waldstadt, Elsterwerda. Regional services Re5 Stralsund, Neustrelitz, Berlin, Wunsdorf, Waldstadt, Elsterwerda. Regional services Re7 Dessau, Bad Belzig, Michindorf, Berlin, Berlin Schönefeld, Fluffhafen, Wunsdorf, Waldstadt. Local services are B10 Nauen, Falkensee, Berlin HBF, Berlin Südkreuz. Local services are B14 Nauen, Falkensee, Berlin, Berlin Berlin Schönefeld Flughafen. Peak hour services are B21 Berlin Friedrichstraße, Berlin, Potsdam, Gom, Westermark. Peak hour services are B22 Berlin Friedrichstraße, Berlin, Potsdam, Gom, Saarmund, Berlin Schönefeld Flughafen, Königs Wusterhausen.